Hello and welcome. Today's topic is about configuring networking in Suse Enterprise Linux Server 11. So when I talk about networking is a huge concept, so I'm not going to talk about everything in networking. Instead, what I'm going to discuss is these 4 points which is required as a Linux admin you should know. So that is what I'm going to do. So first thing is I'm going to configure a bound device, and next I will show you there is 2 options you can use. The first is YAST. Through YAST you would be able to configure it, and also you would be able to do it command line. And third, what I'm going to show you is the route. What is the route file in Suse Linux, and how would we specify those options in route table. So that I will going to discuss. And the last, what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure an alias IP, which is also very important in real-time scenario. You need to configure an alias IP. So I'm going to also show you how to configure an alias IP without bringing down your actual interface. Example, if you are using Bond 0 and if you wanted to configure an alias IP in Bond 0 interface, then without bringing that Bond 0 interface down, I would be able to make that alias IP available. So how would we do that? So I'm going to show that in this video. So those are the main 4 topics which I'm going to show you. The first thing is configuring a bond. So let me just go to my terminal here, and if I just do a if config and do a more, I can able to see there is a bond 0 which is already running and its IP is specified, and for this bond there are 2 interfaces which is running, and the first interface is ETH1 and second interface is ETH2. So how will you see this information? You can also see here it is saying running slave multicast, running slave multicast. So it is a slave for bond 0. Other option you would be able to see proc net bonding bond 0. If you run this, you would also be able to see the information about your bonding. So it is load balancing, which is round robin, and now you can able to see the 2 interface information. It is 1 and it is 2, and both are 1000 Mbps, and it is up. The status is currently it is showing up. Right, so this is how you would be able to see. So let me just do one thing. I need to configure an additional bond device which is going to be bond 1, and for that I need at least 2 interface. And if I run lspci grep for Ethernet, I have 2 more interface here, totally 5 interface, and this 2 is free currently and I can be able to use them. So to do that you can run YAST2, but in real-time scenario when you are going to use PuTTY, most of the time probably you are using PuTTY, so you will not be able to use YAST2 because it is a GUI wizard. And if I run this command, you will be able to see there is a GUI wizard pop up, right? So instead of this I'm going to use YAST, that is a TUI wizard, and a shortcut for your networking is LAN. So you just need to run this command. It will directly land you to network configuration portion. YAST LAN, and now I can see my interface information. The first interface ETH0 is configured as DHCP, and other 2 interface 1 and 2 is configured for bond 0 slave, and there is 2 interface which is free. I'm going to use for bond 1. To create that or add a new interface, you need to do add here, and you can go through a shortcut. You can able to see this is highlighted, A is highlighted, I is highlighted, T is highlighted. So how will you use this shortcut? Just press Alt A. So here you can directly go to this inside this portion with the shortcut key, and now I need to use the device type. Again I will going to use a shortcut which is going to be Alt D, and I can able to see the option here. And now I'm going to use bond, and since I have already bond 0, it is taken default 1. Okay, so you can be able to change it to 2 or 3 if you want, but let's go in order. And next what I have to do, I just need to do a next, so Alt N, and here you would be able to specify your IP. If you wanted to use DSP, you probably need to select this. So I'm going to use a static IP, so I will use Alt I and specify the IP. So this is the IP, and you can also specify a name for your IP here, host name, but I'm not going to specify any host name here, and I'm going to say bond slave. So now I have to specify bond slave for my bond 1 interface. So to go inside this, shortcut is Alt O, and it is asking whether you have not specified the host name. That is what it is saying, so it is okay. So let's do a yes. And now I can see there are two interfaces which is free currently. It is 3 and it is 4. Let me select those two interface, Alt N, next, and now you can able to see bond 1 is configured. This is my IP, and slave for them is it is 3 and it is 4. Let's do a OK here. And what it is happening in background, I have CFG, it is 2 and it is 3. That file is creating under /etc sysconfig network, because those two files are not there, and it is creating now. And also it is checking for firewall rules if there is anything blocking, and momentarily I should be able to have the base prompt. So now it is 60% completed. %, and done. So now if I do if config bond 1, I can see my interface is configured, and also if I do cat procnet bond 1, I will be able to see the information for my bond device. So it is by default took fault tolerance, active backup, and currently active interfaces it is 3, and these are the two interfaces, it is 3 and it is 4. And let me show you those mod. So currently in Suse we have 5 to 6 mod, and you'll be able to see those mod under yust. Let me just run this yust command again. I forgot to show you that one. So let's say I'm going to create a new one, a new bond interface, and specify here bond. It is taking bond 2, and when I go for bond slave here in below, you'd be able to see bond driver option. So by default it takes active backup, so that is why it has created active backup for my bond 1 interface. And if you wanted to check for other options which is available, just run or press Alt D, and those are the options you'd be able to see. The first one is mod balance RR, which is round robin, active backup, and other options which you will be able to use. So total we have 7 mod which we will be able to use. Okay, so this is how you'd be able to use them. So let me just cancel it for now, since I have already configured bond 1, and that is done. So now let me go to /etc sysconfig network, and inside this location, if I cat for CFG bond 1, you can able to see the content. So if you do not like yust, then you probably need to create a file like this manually and update the content similar to like this, master equal to yes. You have to specify the mod, and MMI mod is nothing but it is just kind of a heartbeat between your network interface, which is going to check its interface is alive or not in every 100 milliseconds. So now it is static IP, and this is the IP which is I have assigned, and there is some option which is auto. After my system is reboot, it should come automatically. So this is what the content looks like. Now if you wanted to change it to round robin, probably because for my bond 0 I am using round robin, if you wanted to change that, you would be able to do it, and after that you would need to restart your service. So there is one command, sed which is actually a command line utility which help us to edit a file without going inside it. You would be able to run that, or you can edit the file command line. So let me just try. So I just wanted to replace this active backup to balance -rr, which is the name for round robin in Suse Linux, and that is in the file sysconfig network ifcfg bond 1. So I just changed the name to balance the mod. I have changed it. So I also want to change this to DHCP. Let me just change that as well. So I have changed that, and you also probably don't need the IP. Why? Because since I'm using a DHCP, I would not need static IP. It will automatically fetch a new IP from DHCP server. So let me just remove that line. To remove it, we need to specify something like this: IP ADDR, and I wanted to remove it. So for removing, I need to specify D. I think I have to specify a backslash here, IP ADDR -D D, just like that. Done. So now if I do a cat, that IP is gone. It is load balancing round robin, and it is DHCP. And let me just bring down the interface first. I have down bond 1, and I can run a command chaining with semicolon if up bond 1. It has gone down, and again it is trying to coming up, and it has taken IP from DHCP, which is 38. Right. So if I do ifconfig more, I can able to see bond 1. This is the IP, and it is using this two interface for SLAB. Excellent. So this is what the bonding. The next thing is I wanted to create an alias IP in bond 0. So currently, if I do ifconfig more, and I have this device running this 37 IP, and I wanted to create an alias IP inside this. So to do that, you would be able to run some command like this. So this is the line. Okay, so let me just copy this and update this in bond 0, and end of the line you need to specify. So IP address _0, it should be like this. If you are using more than one, then it would be IP address _1 2, like that. And I need to change the IP here 41, because I already changed that bond 1 IP to 38. It is coming from DHCP, so I can be able to use 41 IP. And name, I'll be probably use PRD, probably for prod I'm using. So that's it. For alias, you need to specify only 2 lines here. And now my IP is configured, and problem is if I just run ifconfig and do a more, I don't have that new alias IP. To make that up, I need to restart my IP, but if I restart it, it will take some time, probably 5 to 10 seconds to bring this interface down, and again it will come up. So to avoid that, why? Because in production environment you will not allowed to do that, because in production people are probably going to use your system all the time, so you will not have that option. So instead, how you would be able to do it online? So there is a command which you would be able to run it. Let me just copy it and paste it here. So this is a command line which you can specify your IP, and broadcast IP you would be able to get it from ifconfig bond 0. So here I can able to see this is my broadcast IP. It should be similar whatever the interface if you are whatever the interface you are using. So this is the broadcast, and I'm using bond 0, and level name is probably I will change to PRD. So that's it. Let me just run it, and now it is done. If I do ifconfig more, okay, it is a little bigger, so let me just maximize it. Okay, and open it one more time. Okay, so now I can able to see bond 0 is still there without any interruption, and bond 0 PRD, which is my alias IP. So alias IP is also configured. So this is how you have to configure your alias IP. So now the next thing is your routes. So for route, you would be able to see something like this. If you run netstart command and rn, I used to prefer those two flag, and now you would be able to see your gateway information. So this is the gateway through which I can be able to log in, or I can be able to reach this server. And now the flags, you would be able to see this network is up, and also the gateway which says G here. So it is going through all ETS 0, and my bond 0 is, since also in the same network, it is going through this gateway itself, and it is actually going through ETS 0. And now probably you have another network which is 168.44.0. So you wanted to add another network in this system, right? So how will you do that? So default there is a file which is /etc sysconfig network routes. So there is a file. So currently this file is not there. Let me just touch it. Okay, so once I create this new file, I have to go inside it. For your default gateway, how you have to specify? We need to specify default for your default gateway, and you need to specify the IP range 43.0. This is my default IP address or default network 43. So you can be able to specify like this. So now it is coming through your gateway is this one, and default entry should be like this 43.0, and you have to specify default minus minus, which is actually a default interface which is using. Okay, so now the next thing is I wanted to use an additional route information. So how will you add? Command line also we will be able to do it. So echo is the command through which we can able to add or update files. So I wanted to add 168.44.0 network, and my gateway for 44 is probably gateway is going to be 192.168.44.1. This is my gateway. 255.255.255.0 is my netmask, and you can also be able to specify your device. So probably I would say bond 1 here, and let me just see whether everything looks good, and redirect this to the files /etc in sysconfig network routes. So this is how your entry should look like in route file if you are adding an additional netmask or an additional network. So now what are the networks coming through 44? It should go through this interface. So This is how you have to specify. Since this network is not available in my setup, so I'm not going to restart my service. So once you have all this configured, then you probably need to just make down your bond 1 interface like this, bond down, if down bond 1, and if up bond 1. So this is how you have to do it. So this is the basic for your networking, and you should be able to do it, or you should have a clear picture, because those are the basic you need to know as a Linux admin. Right, so let me know if you have any doubts what I have showed you in this video regarding bonding, your routes configuration, and also alias IP. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you feel this video is useful and content is useful for you, then please subscribe my channel and also hit like button, and I will come up with more and more videos next time. And for now, that's it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Have a good day. See you next time.